myself gets me isolated. Love it. Telling the truth gets you isolated. So the people who say that they're all traumatized and all this shit, but then they have like 20 people behind them and egging them on and enabling all of this shit at all times, those people aren't traumatized. Those people want to be traumatized. Until you're fully isolated because the abuse is so bad that you get picked on simply just for saying, hey, that's not right when it comes to me, that's an isolation tactic. When Samantha constantly goes after people because maybe they clear something up or they tell, hey, Samantha, that's actually not correct, or no, she wouldn't do that, or no, she's not doing that. She goes off on those people, and then those people go quiet, and they don't want to get retaliation for being seen with me. So they're little cowards, right? Hey, Spicy! Dude, come up here. I miss you so much. You have to request, though. Oh, you did. Yes. Here, hold on. I gotta let me grab my headphones because I can't hear you. What's that?
Hey.
Hold on. Not quite there yet.
I don't have a whole lot of time, but I've been missing you, man.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Hi, I'm glad you're alive.
I've only got a bit of time, but yeah, I've been missing you because I've been basically avoiding. And then, but I want to know what the fuck is with this Amy shit.
I would love to know too. This bitch is like... So what happened the other day is that I was hosting my own live. I was minding my own business. I was curling my hair in the mirror and I was listening to music. And then Roger came in and I said hi to him. And I was like, hey, did you see what happened in Sammy Sourdog's live with Oscar? Because it was just like, you know how Sammy like screams at Oscar and constantly tries to control his thoughts and what he says and everything, and then demonizes him for everything he says.
Yeah.
Well, she started to sort of, in her rant, to try to shut down his speech, she actually contradicted herself and she started to go against her own rhetoric that she spews all the time. And so Roger and I were just sort of like slightly talking about that. And then 7 minutes into my live, I brought up, because we were talking about the Sammy live or whatever, and I just brought up like people can be two-faced and stuff. Hey, there's Oscar right there.
I was going to say, speak to the devil.
Yeah. So then I was saying that like people are two-faced on here, and then I had brought up Amy for like literally like 15 seconds, just saying that like Amy, for instance, who's in my inbox, saying that she wants to work everything out. She wants to work together to try to get people to stop fighting, and that she doesn't believe the things that Sammy says that I am. And she actually admitted to me that she's too scared to speak up. So so I would just said that as an example, as somebody who like maybe on Sammy's panel and feeding into all the bullshit about me, but then behind the scenes is telling me I don't believe those things, and I want to work with. Yeah. So I brought that up for 2 seconds as an example. That was 7 minutes into my live. 3.5 minutes later, so 10.5 minutes into my live, Amy unblocked me to come into my live, and she goes, "You called?" And by this point, I was like back to curling my hair and just like listening to music and shit. And she's like, "You called?" And I was like, "Nope, didn't call you. I don't know why you're here." And then she kept on antagonizing. She called me a racist. And then when she called me a racist and shit, I was just like, "How am I racist?" And then she wouldn't say. And I was just like, "Why don't you come up on my panel? Like, if you have the ovaries to say that in there in the comments, come up and say it to my face, right?"
Yeah.
Like, that's essentially what I was saying. Because I'm not going to say if you have the balls, because you're a woman, and women have ovaries, Amy. So not men.
Hang on, just to interrupt. Is she the one that time I said, "What is a woman"? Okay, because I get confused with her and some other chick. She was also in my DM saying, "No, I don't believe you're a Nazi." Fucking, yeah. So, okay, go on.
Yeah. So, Yeah, with the ovaries thing, I was like, if you want to call me a racist, come up here and in the box and have the ovaries and say it to my face, like woman to woman. I literally said that. And she's like, oh, at least my ovaries work.
Whoa.
So now she's taking it from like, you know, if you have the balls to say that, say it to my face kind of thing. She's taking that and turning it into, well, at least my ovaries work. And I'm
How
like,
do hers
what the
work
fuck?
when she's like 160, isn't she?
I don't know.
Sure. I got her. If I got her mixed up with someone who I actually gave my phone number to, which is very rare.
Amy is the one that's like Tulips. She goes by Gigi sometimes. City to country something. People are calling her cottage cheese.
So she's
for a
not
bit.
Before Skin, Before Sun.
No, that's
Okay,
somebody
Before
different.
Sun is her ovaries definitely wouldn't work. But okay, go on.
Even the comments in there, like she's like, I witnessed that whole thing. You were being massively pushed beyond the edge. It's okay for them to say ignorant stuff, but how dare you defend yourself, right? And that's exactly what was going on. So she was, and I was like, oh, how am I a racist and stuff, you know? And I was pretty calm for the first, like, because she came in at 10 and a half minutes. And then, so for the next like 10 minutes or so, it was more just kind of me being a little bit sassy, but I wasn't screaming at her because she went up on like 4 different panels. She's like, I come in, she's screaming about me. What is a woman? What is that? I'm like, I didn't fucking say it like that.
Yeah.
I was like, what's a woman, Amy? You know, and then as soon as she shamed me, she's like, at least my ovaries work. Something obviously was like triggered in me because she knows that I've shown, like I've expressed how it bothers me that women, especially women on here, are shaming me for not being a mother, while at the same time saying that I should never be a mother. You know what I mean? So like, y'all are shaming me for that shit. Because apparently to them, you can, in order to give a shit about children, you have to be a parent. If you're not a parent, then you're not allowed to talk about the protection of kids, apparently, according to these freaks, right? So she comes up and she's pushing and antagonizing, pushing, to the point where, yeah, I snapped. I finally had a reaction. I snapped and I started screaming at her. Not screaming at her, but I was yelling at her and I was putting her in her place and I was letting her know that, like, people don't actually like you, Amy. Like they only like you because you have something to gossip about. If you're not gossiping about shit or you don't have something to give these people, they don't care. Amy was by herself in Pure Platinum's live getting fucking destroyed. Did any of those friends who care about her come in to try to help her? Not one single person. Not one single fucking person came into her defense. Not one. So it just, and that was the 3rd live she was on talking shit about me and totally saying stuff that didn't actually happen. This is all in that
one day, right? Or 2 days, basically. Okay.
Yep. So, and then she went to Samantha's live and she flops. Yep. So she did all that. And then while she's talking to Samantha and shit, Samantha's going off about me. Do they ever call Samantha out when she makes fun of my eyes? Did they ever call Samantha out when she like enables the person that I have a fucking restraining order against right now? Do they ever do any of that? No, they don't care.
And they don't correct her when she's factually lying. Like, we all know like certain things and to be fact 100%. And Samantha will just say, like, believe this bullshit in her head. And no one ever corrects her. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, don't be sorry. It's okay. So Amy, she goes around and she's spreading all her bullshit. And she basically makes it out to be like I was screaming about Amy, hosting a hate live about her or something. And that she was told that she was being talked about. So she came into my live to talk to me and confront me about it. But really, whoever fucking got in her ear lied to her, because again, the people around her don't actually care about her. They just like to see the drama, and that's it. So they'll feed her a bunch of bullshit, get her worked up, come into my live, and then get me worked up, and then bitch about my reaction to her bullshit, and then only post my reaction to her bullshit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, she's racist. And she said, I'm only with my husband because he's my token black husband with Patricia and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I actually read a comment because I was reading the comments out. And I read a comment out loud, which was not me saying it. I read the comment out loud. And then I said, yeah, no, I'm not Amy or Patricia. That's all I said. I did not say the comment It was a joke. And you know what? When Amy's sitting there bitching and crying and complaining all the time about it, while she sits in a live with somebody who says that they have people watching me, they're going after me, they're inciting violence against me, they're going after my birth defect, they're going after me for not being a mother, like all sorts of, Amy was like, get a job. I have a job. It's a seasonal job. And I go back to work next week. And I'm making money this week because I'm helping my bosses with stuff while they're out of town. So I don't understand why she thinks she has any moral leg to stand on at all when she's spending all of her days constantly ripping people to absolute shreds and kicking them while they're down. And then you confront her and she's like, oh, well, it's not my life. I didn't say it. But cool. So then don't hold anyone else accountable when people are sitting in lives with other people that you don't like then. Yeah. Because they have so many rules for everybody else, and none of those rules apply to them ever.
Yeah, I've been basically 90% off the app for say 5 days or something.
Yeah.
But the moments that I'm like, what the fuck am I missing? So I got a few messages from you, but I was like,
we need to catch up.
Yeah. So I heard Amy going on and on in Samantha's, I believe, but I'm pretty sure Samantha's got me blocked on every one. But all I heard was just Samantha Nons, she is obsessed with you.
With me. Yes,
obsessed with you, and she's so full of shit with 90% of what comes out of her mouth.
I know, and no one stops her. No one tries to correct her. And anyone who does try to correct her or reassure her or calm her down, she assumes that they're standing up for me and they're scheming with me, and she fucking goes off on them too.
Yeah.
Which is isolating me, because now people, even if they like me, there's some people out there that are too afraid to be in my lives or seen with me or seen supporting me publicly because they get fucking harassed if they do. You get harassed for being my friend, but you don't care because you don't give a fuck about these people and you actually have a real spine. So, yeah, last night she said me and Dylan are working together.
I was going to say, listen to when she gets doses. Yeah, so I noticed that too, that the doses has been hanging with her again. And
Samantha misses doses, you can tell. Because doses will say, they'll insult each other and shit, and then Doses laughs at Samantha's insults, and then she'll throw an insult back at Samantha, and Samantha will try to act mad, but you can hear that she's smiling and kind of trying not to laugh because she's faking the shit for everybody else. She misses Doses.
Yeah, well, I think that she misses Doses for sure. And a few other
Doses made her
people.
laugh. All these people she's around now are constantly just getting her riled up to the point where she's about to stroke out from screaming so much.
And if it weren't for you, I think she'd partially miss me too. See, that's the thing.
I didn't even do anything to her. I stood up to her bullshit.
I can't imagine. I can't think of one really horrible thing that you did to Samantha. But she's convinced that you are just stalking her and calling on her and in cahoots with cops. And I'm just like, where are you getting any of this?
all the people around her making shit up to her, or they'll say one small thing that isn't the full truth. So they're lying by omission, by purposely leaving full context out. And then they'll watch her spiral and they laugh about it. Because they enjoy it. Because it's not them spiraling. They get to sit on the sidelines and say, it wasn't me that fucking hosted that. I didn't say that. No, you just gave her all the information that was false and then watched her spiral. And for what? That's not what friends do. You know what my friend did? You know what someone did when I was spiraling in mine because of Amy? Came up on the panel and calmed me the fuck down.
Wow.
That's what my friend did because they care about me. Hey, I don't want to see you like this. And we just watched you get riled up by that person and they're going to take this and they're going to run with it. And, you don't need to be stressed like this. We know that you have seizures. We don't want you to get all worked up. she's actually she gave a fuck. Thank you, Illusion, for doing that. Yeah. And I cried. Yeah. I was crying because of Amy.
Fuck, I wish I was there for that part. Like I said, I had missed so much and then And who else? Someone just seen a comment. She misses us all. Yeah, I think well, with the exception of you and like 3, 4 others, I think Samantha does regret like because she's stuck with Sammy and
Mm-hmm.
Amy and Before Sun, and they are incredibly boring. Not even boring, like
They're
like
extremely volatile.
bland and bland and lie and like how can you just I'll listen when they're talking with Sammy and they just knowing full well like 99% of the population does not think like that, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not thinking like that, but they're left to like I don't get it.
I just don't. I couldn't sit in those lives and be berated like that. And then if I have to sit in a live where I'm scared to speak my mind, I'm scared to talk about how I feel about things with that person, then I shouldn't be in the live with that person.
No, they admonish people, they shame people, make them think like they're somehow smarter than the world. Like,
Why?
oh,
Because you sat in a classroom and you listened to what somebody told you to learn, and then you read the books that you were given to learn. I'm not saying she ain't learning, but she's learning from the government teaching standpoint, Miss
yeah,
Anarchist. So it doesn't
yeah.
really make a whole lot of
Oh
sense.
no, she's no anarchist. She's no
No.
anti-capitalist. She's none of those things. She's
If she's an
every
anarchist, my eyes are straight.
right. She's a like the hypocrisy, and the hypocrisy isn't even the right word. It's what's the word when you're just so delusional in reality of what it's like to be any of the things that she's so desperate to be oppressed, yet she has not got a single oppressed experience in her life.
Well,
Everything I've ever heard of her, even living as a homeless punk rocker and all this, that does not make you oppressed now, currently, or even then. That was like a lifestyle choice, in my opinion, right? Like,
she thinks it's too basic just to be a white woman. So
right,
she's
and
got to
so
be
she's just
everything but.
desperate to be everything. It reminds me, well, I'm not going to talk about him, but it reminds me of that person and other people that are like, that wouldn't know oppression if it kicked them in the teeth.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
The teachings of, I don't know, for example, like MLK or fucking Malcolm or any of these people somehow that they can relate to that. You can read a book, but you can't fucking relate. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's comical. It's comical to watch. It's comical, and the narcissism is huge with her too. And then you have these, what do you call them? Useful idiots,
Idiots.
or what do you call it? What's the other word for useless eaters? So you got Amy, Samantha,
That's
Ash,
don't you know
before
that's what
Sun.
the World Economic Forum calls us poor people and us
Yeah,
unvaccinated?
useless
They call them
eaters.
yeah, they call us useless eaters.
Yep,
We
yep,
take up space and they need
yep.
to figure out what they have to do with us.
Flying monkeys. Yeah, no, it's just
Oh, don't say
honestly
flying
my
monkeys, Blitz, because then Amy's going to think that you're calling her a monkey and she's going to make it a racist thing or something. That's what
well
she
I
did the
like
other day because I said something about like, oh, go whine to all your friends so they can send their flying monkeys or whatever.
I call all
And
my kids and my grandbabies monkeys. I've called my kids monkeys from the day they were born, right? And that 3 little monkeys jumping on the bed and all this.
yeah, it's
And
just a
I've got
little.
grandbabies that are Jamaican, and my grandson-in-law, my son-in-law is Jamaican. Okay, I call him Monkey. Oh, people
Not
fucking
because
think
of
I
his
do.
race,
Oh
though,
my
right?
god, give me a fucking break, man.
But
So
like it's the so when I said like oh send in your flying monkeys or something, I have to deal with your flying monkeys. She runs over to Samantha or Pure Platinum or somebody, I forget which one. She was in like 3 or 4 different lives that day, bitching about me and spreading the smear campaign around. But she said that because I said something about flying monkeys, she reiterated it as if because she's married to a black man and has like
Yeah,
mixed
I
race
hate that.
babies that apparently I'm calling her kids. I don't even know.
I,
I can't. I
it
can't even wrap
it's
my head
hard to
around the
wrap. Yeah, it's
fucking
hard
bullshit
to
and how they
wrap your
get
head
to that
around it.
conclusion. It's just
It's
like
true.
that's what happened. And
It's
then
like,
she's like,
okay, I'm
"You being
married to a
colorblind
Muslim.
means
Somehow you're an expert in Islam. I'm married to a black man and black babies. You're somehow an expert. Or
on racism or something." But then we'll sit with a bunch of people who call Elder a dog and tell me to come get my leash and get my dog.
it's mind numbing to me. That's why I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm making some plans on like trying to change what I do in my life, right? So I've got two things I'm debating on whether I'm going to move to Dakota or I'm going to take my remember I don't know if
You're
you
gonna
heard me
move to
last.
Dakota, like as in,
Yeah,
like South
yeah,
Dakota, North
yeah,
Dakota?
on the border, yeah, North and South
You
Dakota,
gonna
yeah.
leave me here?
No, but last so the teepees, right? I want to do the same thing, have a sacred fire space up here near me, and because like 5, 6 blocks from me, there's like a little river and all that. So it's still downtown Toronto, but like there's a river, right? And like you, it's quiet. You're not going to see houses or anything like that. And put up a teepee and just start my own sacred fire thing, and then
Oh
and have
man.
fire keepers, right? But then I was like, oh, but part of me wants to spend my final season just having freedom. Like in America, there's so much freedom, and I can like shoot pews, and I can fucking, just hunt and fish and do whatever the fuck. I can do that here too, as a native, but like because you have J Treaty, I
Yeah.
can retire in the States.
It's so different. In the States, there's way more freedoms.
So much more freedom. People don't realize the lack of freedom that we have in Canada. And it's not because Pierre or any politician or, people like, I'm leaving. No, just like when I went there years ago for there was like a pipeline thing and a protested at Standing Rock.
Oh,
And
that was that the Keystone Pipeline thing
yeah, yeah. And
or something?
it was, I don't think it was called Keystone. But anyway, it was pretty massive. Like it was hard. I got shot with those there's like the size of golf balls, and the cops were like the army was shooting those water cannon things. So you get hit by water, you go flying like 100 feet, right? Well, that was like 12 years ago, however many years ago. So I'm like too old for that kind of shit anymore. That was kind of my final hardcore protest that I did. I've done some since then, but more just marching or with the cops or whatever a couple of years ago. But I'm too old to be like getting shot by cannons and
Yeah,
stuff.
don't be getting. Yeah, don't be doing that.
But I've
Oh
got
man.
like offers for space to like land. Like I got offers for land and like near Standing Rock Reservation. Like I could just live there for the rest of my life. But I've convinced like 6 of my family members to move with me. So if I can convince 10, then I'll leave. If not, I'm going to just stay in downtown Toronto till I'm dead.
You don't even have to stay in Toronto. There's so many places in Ontario. Like Ontario is a country on its own. You could go to
Yeah,
up north. I could see you thriving up in the Algonquins, or
yeah, I
like
like
or
Algonquin.
Thousand Islands area.
Yeah, I've done Algonquin. I've the odd time, like a couple of years ago, I moved to like Aurora/Newmarket for. It was going to be for a whole year for my puppy's first year of life because I had this huge backyard. It was an Airbnb, and I stayed there for like a year. I've lived in Kingston. Like I could move outside of Toronto, but it's like I don't really have anybody outside of Toronto. They're all in Toronto, right? So I'd want them all to move with me. Nobody wants to move like to wherever in Ontario. I could go to the res anywhere in like some few reses in southern Ontario, but they're ghetto. Like it's like
They're
drama,
ghetto.
cousin fucking, all this shit. Like I'm not in the mood for all the drama that goes along with it. You know what I mean? So I'd rather go like to the United States.
That's fair. I would too. Did you see that I went to a protest on Sunday? Wasn't even
Yeah,
a protest. It wasn't a protest.
I
It was
checked
like,
out those videos, and I was going to go to your YouTube a little bit later.
I haven't made my full length video yet for it, but Karima posted some. I'm in the background of some of them, and I'm in the foreground of some of them. And then Rebel News posted last night. They posted.
Yeah, I saw Rebels.
You saw them you saw Menzies talking to the people out there and getting assaulted?
I watched it yesterday, yeah.
So the guy that's seen right here with the megaphone, that dude right there with the hood on, that's the same guy that assaulted Mike at Pride in the Park with the tutu on, the rainbow tutu guy. Tutu tough guy is what we call them, or tutu Timmy is what we called him. He was the guy that was wearing the rainbow tutu and shoving Mike multiple times on camera, and the cops did fuck all. And again, this time, the cops did fuck all. They just stood by. And Menzies was walking away from them, and they were following him. And the cops were like, just give them space, give the, they don't want to talk to you. And he's like, well, how do I know they don't want to talk? Because I'm going up to people who are, there's some people who did want to talk to him. And then the people with the fucking horns and the drums come by, and they told that person, you don't want to talk to that person. So that person's like, oh, okay, I was told not to talk to you. So, and it's like, you guys are zombies. Like, that is fascism. That is fascism. The way that those people protest, where they're like hitting the fucking things as hard as they possibly can.
Preventing voice and all that,
and then drowning you out while you're talking and assaulting your ears, like, the decibels that those horn things are at were right at our ear. And like the guy fucking put it like right in Menzies' ear, and the cops were like, can't do anything. Watched the guy literally assaulted, and they're like, can't do anything. So by the cops being complacent like that, because if we were the ones to do that to them, we would be arrested. But because they're doing it to us, well, just give them space. Well, I'm walking away and they're following me. So can you tell them to fuck off? Because at this point, if you guys aren't going to do your jobs while you're watching this happen and you're just letting it happen, I will protect myself. And if you try to arrest me, I will sue your ass too. Because you're here to de-escalate.
Yeah. They're mandated to sadly pick sides. So the cops let's just say the cops are on your side. They're mandated to not be. They're doing it here in Toronto all the time. There's a couple of Jewish neighborhoods where each week, like clockwork, the Jews stand there peacefully, and then the fucking assholes on the other side come and start with the noises and the ear-busting things, and the cops do absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And they want to, they could, but they can't. They're required to.
Well, I let the cops know that, like, if they don't do something, especially when I'm being assaulted and I'm asking you to get them away from me, and you refuse to do that, you refuse to do anything, I will hit back. Yeah. Like I told them that on Sunday. I was like, if somebody hits me and you don't do anything about it, I will hit them back. I will, and you will not be charging me. Because self-defense is allowed, and you're here wasting my tax dollars. I told them to do their job.
In the United States, you could use pepper spray on a person, right? And I've used it on a person before, like the kind you buy at the hardware store for coyotes, right? Or dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then bear mace, you have to actually sign for it, and it's a big, huge jug, like a big, huge, heavy container. But the one I had that was on my lanyard, actually sprayed myself by accident once, but yeah, the cops.
That's not good. Don't do that.
The guy fucking was just being abusive at the teepees, and we fucking maced him, and he ran to the hospital and called the cops. The cops came, and we basically said he fucking went and attacked us, and so the cops were like, fine, but technically you're not allowed to. But I say carry that shit.
Yep. Well, I don't know.
No,
now, that's 2 times now that I've gone to 2 events, and the same person has laid hands on me or Mike, and the cops were standing right there and pulled him away and did nothing. In fact, told us, ooh, did you hear that? That was my throat. Told us, well, why don't you give them space? Why don't you give them space? I am giving them space. I'm talking to people and they're coming over to me. I'm not in their space. They're coming into my space and acting like the victims. I'm allowed to talk to people. I was like, why don't you tell them to stop getting in people's spaces? And then the one cop was like, well, you know, it's easier to deal with one person than it is a whole group. I'm like, that's not my fucking problem. You sound a lot like my teachers did in school when I was getting beat up in class. And it was easier just to take care of one student, me, and put me in the hallway, and I missed out on the lessons, and I was the one excluded from everything because it was just easier to deal with one person than it is the whole class. The whole class that's being the aggressors. Like, you guys have fucking tools. You have handcuffs. You have spray. You have the tools to make people not be aggressive.
Yeah. Yet Samantha seems to think that you have power over the cops in the town.
I have no idea.
She's going to call the call the courts and demand that she has a voice and a say, and gets to observe court on the 4th and all this. And I'm like, who the fuck? And then she's like, she acts like she knows the entire fucking the cops.
Yeah, she's like, I've been through court. I know how it works. Then you should know that I have zero power over what the fucking judge decides to do. Like, she was telling people yesterday that she's like, we watched her talk to the judge and stuff. Yeah. It was right. I'm like, huh?
That's the part I was watching.
I was sitting at the back of the courtroom. Actually, I was the only one in view between the two parties that are there for that. I was the only one in view of the Zoom. You could see me sitting there the entire fucking time. I didn't get up once. And like I've said to you before, and I don't know who else has heard this or hasn't heard it, we were all sitting in court and this guy was like halfway through his matter talking to the judge, and the lady sitting at the base of the judge's chair or whatever, she stood up, turned around, stuck a pink Post-it note on the desk of the judge. The judge leans over and she has the man stop explaining for a second because she needed to read it. She goes like this: I'm calling an immediate recess. Gets up, leaves. Was pissed.
Yep.
We had no idea what was going on. Nope. So then we go out.
I had an idea, but yeah.
Yeah, so we go out. I make sure to sit very separate away from the other party. The other party was out of sight. I couldn't even see him, had my back to the wall. And the other party was around the corner and sitting in other seats. And I'm sitting there waiting. Crown comes out, talks to, I can't remember if he told everybody that someone had been caught recording or if he just like came out and then he immediately started talking to the other party. And then I heard them sort of talking to each other, and I heard the other party try to pin it on me. So then they go into a room and I'm sitting there with my mouth all, I'm like, is he really going to try and do that to me right now?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the cop that's standing there, and he's looking at me. He's like, people say things all the time, you know? And he has no idea what's going on. I look at Mike, and he's just like, don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about it. So I was like, okay. I'm like, I didn't do anything. So I don't know. He tried to pin it on me. And then the Crown comes out. We go into a room, and we asked, we're like, what was the recess for? And it's like, oh, somebody was caught broadcasting the Zoom. And we're like, oh my gosh. And then so he's like, but I'm in here to tell you that, you know, the email that you sent me with the evidence in it, I didn't get it until this morning. And that was my bad. I missed a character in the email when I originally sent it. It would have been to him on time. But then the day before court, when I was checking my email for other stuff, I saw the notice that it didn't go through, and I'm like, fuck. Yeah, so I sent it right away with the correct email. And then he got it, but he got it not in time for him to be able to go through it, because he has to go through it and figure out what's relevant. And then he sends it to the other party, and then the other party builds their defense on that. So, so then he's like, okay, so when we go in, like, we're going to come back April 4th. So when you go in, we'll just get your situation so you guys can go like as soon as possible. Right. So it's like, we don't really need to do this today. So we leave that, I left that room, sat in the waiting room again. waited, and then while we're waiting, a bunch of cops went into the courtroom for didn't know what reason. Yeah. So then, and then we get called back into court. I wait for the other party to go in and sit down before I get up and go into the courtroom to sit down, because I don't want to be crossing paths. And so yeah, I go sit back in my original spot again. The judge, she steps up. She says that somebody had been caught. I mean, whatever you guys heard on the Zoom is what she told us, because we were all in the same room. So everybody on the Zoom call got disconnected. Not just Samantha. Everybody did. And Samantha's dumbass disrupted court because she decided to go in as a student. And then when all the legal counsel had been dismissed, because all that was left was people representing themselves in person in the courtroom, so the legal representation on the Zoom call was no longer needed. So they were disconnecting them so that they could go on with their days and stuff. And the students weren't disconnected yet. So that's when the judge said, students, are you there? And the other student didn't answer. Samantha answered, and she said she wasn't a student. So the judge told her to change it to observer. And then she asked the other student if she was there. The other student didn't answer. Samantha tried to answer for her. And then the judge told Samantha to mute. And then I think it was like that guy that was in the middle of his thing, explaining his thing. He got called up pretty much right after everyone got disconnected. Or the legal people did. The observers didn't, but the legal counsel did. And he comes up and starts explaining, and then that's when the recess was called. So I didn't speak to the only person I spoke to in the courthouse before I went into that courtroom was the lady at the metal detector thing when we first came in. Yep. That is the only person I spoke to.
Me knowing that, because I knew that, and I was talking with you, and I knew everything. And listening to Samantha and even the other person, were just lying through their fucking teeth. I'm like, wow, what a fucking joke.
Have it all recorded too. Have it all recorded.
My name brought up. Spot is the only one who records Zoom court, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm fucking idiots, man. He claims that I'm the one who I didn't even know the one before with him, with your boyfriend.
Oh, the public mischief charges?
Yeah, I knew. I saw it. I know what happened, but he seems
for the people that are listening and don't know, my boyfriend did not get public mischief charges. He got falsely charged with criminal harassment, and then the for yelling death threats, but then the alibi, because he was not even in town, he was at work in another city, and the CCTV footage proved that was a complete lie, and the person that made that lie up was charged for doing that. Sorry, continue.
No, and like I said, I know about all that, but for them to assume, and I remember hearing Samantha saying something about she's gonna tell the courts that it's me recording. I'm like, look,
the courts have the technology. If they had the technology to see that somebody was recording, most likely that person's box was what was blinking off for them. So they already know who was recording. They probably figured it out before we were even done fucking court that day.
Knew, so while Zoom court didn't have that technology, so you could press screen record on your phone and get away with it. And then they realized people were doing that, and then obviously that shit that happened in Ottawa too, that I recorded. But they realized this is much more serious. This is court. We need to have an additional process that can alert them to which particular observer or whomever is actually recording. And like if you use another device and just point the phone at it or whatever, you're not going to get caught. But if you're using your phone, it's good. It's going to narrow down to the IP and all that, because they realized they had to. Like there was one time a couple of years ago that the Zoom...
It's $250,000 fine, by the way, if you get caught broadcasting.
Yeah, up to and some time in jail. Yeah.
And there was publication bans on the cases before me. So
that's right.
Including a manslaughter case, which could have included some domestic violence situation
Yeah.
or minors or anything like that. So people are
Yeah.
broadcasting that. It could have been somebody from that case recording. I don't know who was caught. Could have been someone not even
if
from
you think
TikTok.
about it, that could be true, because I'm like, even if you're going to record your shit, why would you record until it start? Like, I wouldn't start recording your shit until
Exactly.
it started. You know what I mean? So yeah, it could have been. I don't think so. I think it was to do with us, because with the exception of a manslaughter, which isn't that common in your town's court, there's never any observers. Like, I used to zoom around like different small town courts or weekend courts, and there was never any observers. And Toronto only started having observers once people realized they could observe court. And the funny thing was, a good chunk of that had to do with me, because I was constantly telling people about these men identifying as women and whatnot. And sometimes in Facebook or whatever.
There was one that was that was with our court.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing about.
There was a guy that
in a small town,
and you could clearly tell, like, this person on our court did not try in any way, shape, or form to appear as as a woman.
Didn't have a name change even. It was like
didn't have a
Mark
name
or
change.
John or whatever.
Yep, and like lowest voice ever.
Yep.
But was being housed with other women.
Well, I was seeing a lot of news before TikTok, right? Like on Facebook and stuff, and
Hi, Illusion.
people would be talking about whatever violent crimes, or this person's on like their 7th bail, or this or that. And I would explain to people in the comments of Facebook, like, you should just, if you ever get the time, even especially on weekends, just watch bail court. You're going to be shocked and people could not believe what I was telling them. They couldn't believe. I'm like, I'm telling you, the guy is on 2nd-degree murder, and he's on his 7th bail, and they released him on bail again. He's on bail for murder. No, that doesn't happen anymore. I'm telling you, it started in 2020, these new policies.